Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Real Talk Podcast here on the PWR Now Network for Tuesday, May 24, 2016. Damian Nelson, and again, this is Real Talk. It's my podcast here on the PWR Now Network, and thanks everybody for joining us, listening on the podcast. You can download it on iTunes, on Stitcher Radio for Google, and get new episodes delivered to your inbox, and new episodes downloaded to your device, a device of your choosing, whenever they are released. As you know, Real Talk comes to you every Tuesday. Double D Podcast comes to you on Thursdays. Reaction on Mondays and Wednesdays. Feedback Friday on Friday. And then Prime Time on Saturday. Big news, big week rather, big last few days really in the world of professional wrestling. Big releases over the course of the weekend. One unexpected, very unexpected release, and then another that one could have definitely predicted would happen. However, the circumstances a bit different than I would have expected. And then, of course, you've got Extreme Rules where Seth Rollins returned to the WWE, attacking Roman Reigns, who beat AJ Styles. That happened Sunday in Newark, New Jersey at the Extreme Rules event. And what I want to talk about today, Real Talk today, is spurred by a comment that was made in Jim Ross's blog. Of course, Jim Ross, a great friend of this show, here on and appears with us on the Fight TV app as well. That's FITE. But JR had something to say about the very vocal audience, specifically during the Roman Reigns AJ Styles matchup at Extreme Rules. And let me read to you what he said so we can baseline, I guess, and get a foundation for the conversation that we're about to have. Jim Ross said, and I quote, folks, the live audience chanting "You can't wrestle" at Roman Reigns was an embarrassment. Now, if you'd watched the show, which many of you did, I'm sure you heard that chant not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 times, "You can't wrestle." And I think they even continued on to say, "You still can't wrestle" when Roman Reigns did good things. JR goes on to say this. These are JR's words, folks. "Fans don't have to like a talent if that's their choice. But to express such a snarky, listen to me chant doesn't seem like a good thing. At times, these chants feel that they are from self-absorbed, attention-starved fans who feel compelled to make sure that everyone within earshot knows how they feel. I get the theory that if I pay my money, I can say whatever it is I want, but is that actually necessary?" Again, these words from Jim Ross, a very respected man in this business, right? Obviously, these fans don't feel so strongly about their opinions that they do not attend said events. Pro wrestling, he closes with this, pro wrestling is a unique animal in as much as many of its diehard fans actually get that upset over a show business presentation based on fictional storylines and TV personas. That, again, from Jim Ross's blog, which you can find at jrsbarbecue.com. That's jrsbarbq.com. The first statement there is what really grabbed my attention because I agree wholeheartedly with what he said, which was the live audience chanting "You can't wrestle" at Roman Reigns was an embarrassment. Now, it's no secret, I am a Roman Reigns fan. I enjoy what Roman Reigns brings to the table. Roman Reigns is endorsed. Roman Reigns is the 3-time WWE champion. Roman Reigns is the guy, pun intended there, for WWE. Yes, he's the chosen one. Yes, he's being pushed. Yes, he's being shoved down our throats. But some of the fans out there, for those reasons, won't give Roman Reigns any of the credit he deserves. Some of the fans out there, will blindly hate and sheepishly follow other haters of Roman Reigns because he's not their guy. Because he is being forced on us. Because he is being shoved down our throats, as I said before. Which is a baffling logic that people are using. Because as pointed out on Twitter on Sunday by another friend of the show, Jimmy Corderas, up in Canada, former WWE referee, he's being pushed and shoved down our throats and is the chosen one, just like Hogan, just like The Rock, just like Stone Cold Steve Austin, just like the Ultimate Warrior, just like the Macho Man. just like John Cena. And all those men went on to make millions of dollars and become household names in professional wrestling. Now, the climate is a little different nowadays as it pertains to fans. You have more opportunities to be more vocal. Social media. Some of these same fans hide behind their keyboards with fictitious screen names. Some of these fans. This is not at all this is not at all reflective of all fans. But there's a very large vocal segment of the wrestling fan population that tries more to be cool and be seen on camera than to actually go and enjoy the show. And maybe for them that is enjoying the show, but you know what? Think of you, if you're that fan, and you go to work and you do your job. That's what Roman Reigns is doing, right? He's going to work and he's doing what WWE asks of him. He's punching his clock. So let's say you did the same thing. And you're doing your job well. You're doing exactly what your boss is asking of you. Yet everybody else there hates you. If you're in the service industry, everybody who you serve hates you. And when asked why, they really can't give a reason. They may say that certain facets of the job that you do may not be up to par with some of the people who have done it longer and may do it better as a result. But there's no reason for the hatred. Some would say maybe it's fun. It's fun to boo Roman Reigns, much like it's fun to boo John Cena. But again, John Cena is laughing all the way to the bank because the vocal few who chant John Cena sucks are trumped by the majority of people who will buy Cena's merchandise and buy tickets to go to the shows. That was another point Jim Ross made. He said, obviously these fans don't feel so strongly about their opinions that they do not attend said events. Guys, if you really don't want to support Roman Reigns, if you really don't like the direction WWE is going in, the most clear message you could send is to not go to the events, not buy the merchandise, not talk about it, tweet about it, social media about it, to cancel your WWE Network subscription if you were even paying for it anyways, to not watch Raw, to not watch SmackDown, to not watch Main Event. No, wait, nobody really watches that anyways. But that's the way you really clearly send your message. Going in and reacting, whether you're booing or cheering to a star, is what they want. The reaction is what they want. If you're reacting, whether it be booing or cheering, WWE is winning. The wrestling company is winning. Because guess what? I say John Cena's laughing all the way to the bank. Roman Reigns laughing all the way to the bank too. You've given him money, literally. Because they're getting a piece of that gate. They're getting a piece of that ticket revenue. They're getting a piece of that merchandise money. If the portion of the audience that refuses to support Roman Reigns, even when he has a great wrestling match like he did with AJ Styles this past Sunday, and it takes two to tango, but stop with the crap of AJ carried Roman to a good match. That's complete and total horse crap. Two good men can deliver a great match. One good man and one bad man don't deliver a great match. So both men deserve whatever credit you're willing to give AJ Styles for carrying that match. You can give the same credit to Roman Reigns for carrying that match. It's a fact. That's a fact. But even when he has such a great match, a tremendous wrestling matchup as he did on Sunday, the fans in Newark, New Jersey chanted, "You still suck. You suck." I did like at one point there was a chant for AJ Styles and a chant for Roman Reigns. Going back and forth. It's dynamic. Again, simply by reacting and talking about Roman Reigns, you're keeping him relevant. So those small-minded fans, that small group of small-minded fans, who are chanting what they did in Newark, who are not, for whatever reason, ever going to support Roman Reigns, that small vocal group of small-minded fans don't have the ability to comprehend the fact that they're actually helping Roman Reigns along. Whether you boo him, whether you cheer him, you're helping him get to be a bigger star. JBL said it at Extreme Rules when Roman Reigns was coming down. And I like the way the WWE is acknowledging it, by the way. JBL said it. Whether you boo him or whether you cheer him, you're reacting to him, and he elicits a reaction from all the fans. I've only seen it done once. It was TNA Impact Wrestling years upon years ago when, remember, Jeff Jarrett had all that heat because he was always booking himself as the champion and was always taking up all the TV time on TNA. And there was a fan during a Jeff Jarrett promo who, opposite the camera, literally crossed his arms and turned his back and stood there in silence. That sends a message. A message that cannot be edited, a message that cannot be worked out, cannot be excluded from the programming. That sends a message. So what I implore those fans who don't like Roman Reigns, not because of his wrestling skill or ability, because let's be honest, he's been in the business for a few years, he's better than he should be, but he's not as great as some of the wrestling legends, nor was Hulk Hogan, nor was John Cena, nor was Steve Austin, nor was The Rock. None of those are great wrestlers per se. Austin was probably the best of them. By their own admission, they're not the best wrestlers in the world and the greatest wrestlers in the world, but they're the biggest stars in the world. I'm not saying Roman Reigns is on that level. WWE wants to get him there. They need to get him there. Because if it's not Roman Reigns, who is the next John Cena? Who was the next Rock Austin? Who is it? No, it's not Sami Zayn as much as I love him. No, it's not Kevin Owens as much as I love him. No, it's not Dolph Ziggler. No, it obviously ain't going to be Daniel Bryan, who everybody rallied for last time. You know, we've talked about this many a time on the show. There are certain ingredients that need to be there for a person to bear the burden of supporting and being the face of the company. There's certain ingredients that have to be there. They've got to be able to perform physically. They've got to be able to speak. They've got to be attractive to a mass audience of casual fans. They've got to be rather likable. And they've got to be larger than life in their presence. Those are the ingredients that are needed. Roman Reigns has those ingredients. And there are many other wrestlers in WWE who have those ingredients. But they don't have all of them, or have not been viewed as having all of them by the people that matter, which are the people that make the decisions in WWE. So you don't have to like it, you don't have to love it, you could even hate it, but you do have to go with it or stop watching, stop tuning in. Those are your options. And again, I'm speaking to the small vocal minority of fans who chanted, "You still suck. You can't wrestle," who just have blind hate for Roman Reigns. So I would love to engage in conversation with you about this. Make a comment here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Again, I'm not hiding behind a keyboard. I'm vividly out there under my real name, at Damian Nelson. No underscore, no period, no dash, at Damian Nelson on Twitter. Let's talk about it. I'd love to hear your valid points as to why you think that Roman Reigns isn't the guy. And there are two exclusions. Don't tell me he can't cut a promo, and don't tell me he can't wrestle. Because he can cut a promo, and he did show you how well he can wrestle, not just on Extreme Rules, but also in his match with Triple H at WrestleMania, also in his match with AJ Styles at the last Payback event as well. He can wrestle. So let's talk about it. maybe you could convince me that I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Roman Reigns. But it's interesting as we talk about the fans' reactions and to look at and hear comments from people who know this business better than I ever will, better than any of you ever will, and to hear them say these same things that Jim Ross has just said. I would imagine Jim Ross knows what he's talking about, right? Again, his statement was this: the live audience chanting "You can't wrestle" at Roman Reigns was an embarrassment. It made the show it made the match difficult to watch. I almost put the match on mute because it was a distraction. These fans are making themselves the show. That's not what it's about. If a lot of fans could simply sit down, watch a wrestling show, and engage and be entertained, they'd be a lot happier. That's what I still try to do. On Extreme Rules on Sunday, I sat down, 7 o'clock p.m., WWE Network, started the show, phone was on silent, wasn't looking at Twitter. I picked up my phone anytime I wanted to send a tweet. Didn't read tweets. I enjoyed the show. With the exception of the Ambrose Asylum cage match. That was horrible. It was the laughing stock of wrestling matches from WWE this year. As a matter of fact, some people have said the four-way Intercontinental Tag Team Intercontinental Fatal Four-Way match was match of the year, which is, a lot of people are too quick to give that distinction to matches because it's only May. It can easily be said, and I would agree with, the Asylum cage match was the worst match of the year from WWE by and far. Who was it? Was it Ambrose trying to put Jericho in the straitjacket? Uncle, tap out. I was done. I'm like, this is brutal. This is bad. Gosh. But regardless of that, Ambrose isn't getting any hate. Think about if Roman Reigns was in that matchup. Just think about if Roman Reigns was in that matchup. Every bit of the blame would have been on Roman Reigns, right? All of those same people that were chanting, "You can't wrestle" to Roman Reigns. All of those same people that go and have all this hatred for Roman Reigns are the same people, generally, I think, who love Dean Ambrose. And I'm an Ambrose fan now, too. I've crossed that bridge. But where was the hate for Ambrose? There was hate for the match. A consensus of hate, by the way. Actually, Jim Ross commented on that, too. Let me go to his comments on that because it was interesting. Felt badly, did JR say, felt badly for Jericho and Ambrose, who did all they could to make the Asylum cage match better than it was. I'd assume this concept looked better on paper than it was in actual execution, and that's not a new anomaly within the pro wrestling business. It's easy for anyone to diss the idea after the fact. Now, going into it, that was comments from Jim Ross, going into it, I was intrigued by this matchup. I'm like, this should be interesting. It'll be a fight, but when you're using a mop, now the plant, Mitch, made sense because it was part of the story, but they're using a mop. And the thumbtacks was nice. They needed that. Think of what it would have been without the thumbtacks. It made me wonder, and somebody actually said this on Twitter to me, it was not as bad as the Dog Kennel from Hell match, which was a few years back, but was it as bad in concept, which is a better concept is what I asked myself, the Punjabi prison match or the Asylum cage match, which there were 2 Punjabi prison matches, by the way, folks. I don't think there'll be 2 Asylum cage matches. But be that as it may, Extreme Rules was a great show because it ended strongly. It ended with what was obvious. A lot of people are giving us credit, myself and Dave, for what we said on Primetime Extra last week about Seth Rollins returning and what scenario would be. And it's not about being right or wrong, even though I was right, if you will, but it was just so dang obvious. If Rollins was ready to come back, he had to come back and do what he did and reclaim his stake in the WWE Championship. And it was beautifully executed on Extreme Rules on Sunday. Now, this podcast is actually being recorded Monday just before Raw, so don't know what happened with Seth on Raw, but it was good to see him back. But that match between AJ Styles and Roman Reigns was a good match. He didn't suck. Nobody sucked. AJ wasn't buried. It was a match that continued to elevate both men, putting AJ in the main event picture, keeping him in the main event picture, and keeping Roman Reigns at a championship level performance. I'm not sure you can deny that. As a wrestling fan, if you really sit back and just watch the match, can you deny that Roman Reigns was able to perform on the same level as AJ Styles in that matchup? I don't, as a wrestling fan, strip away your hatred or like for either man in the match, and I don't think you could say that they didn't perform equally in that matchup. So, the other white elephant in the room, which if there were a white elephant in the room, I don't think it smells as good in here as it does, is the release of Cody Rhodes from WWE. As you know, I've been a Cody Rhodes fan for years. Actually, since the first time I saw him wrestle at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, at an OVW show. Didn't even know he existed on this planet. Saw him wrestle, saw him perform there, met him for the first time there, and became a fan of Cody. And I have the utmost respect and admiration for what Cody Rhodes has done, requesting his release from WWE due to his dissatisfaction with his utilization in the company, as he would explain in a Twitter post after announcing that he had asked for his release and it being granted by WWE. I have all the respect in the world for him to do that. He left a high-paying job in his dream career, in his dream job. He left it. Left his wife on the road with that same company for his own principles. You can't deny that that is what makes a man. And that just shows you how great a person Cody Rhodes is. He's going to land on his feet. Whatever it is, his new venture he decides on pursuing, he's going to land on his feet. I'm sure he still has some contractual obligations to WWE that will not permit him to be seen on a national scale anytime soon, but he's going to be just fine. And he remains endorsed, does Cody Rhodes, and we'll talk much more about this situation, of course, on our broadcasts this weekend from the Pro Wrestling Report. So, let's continue this conversation here on Real Talk, here on the PWR Now Podcast Network, and right here on YouTube. Roman Reigns, why do you hate him? Why do you say he can't wrestle? Why do you say he sucks? You're not able to use the following reasons in your explanation: that he's being shoved down our throats and that he's not ready. You can't use those two things, along with the two things I said earlier. Can't say he can't wrestle, can't say he can't cut a promo. Yes, I'm putting rules on this because I'm sick of hearing that same crap from some of you. If you don't like him as a wrestler, because there are those people you just don't like, right? If you don't like him as a wrestler, you don't like what the Roman Reigns character is, that's fair enough. We all have our favorite teams, our favorite music, our favorite songs, our favorite books, our favorite movies, our favorite TV shows. All of us don't have to agree on that. And I'm not saying we all have to agree on Roman Reigns, but this blind hatred from some of the small-minded people out there who can't explain why they hate him except for he's being shoved down our throats are these same fans who chanted, "You can't wrestle," which is a disrespectful, embarrassing thing to say to a man who's risking his life to entertain you in that ring. It's disrespectful. It really is. So, let's talk about it. Let's hear what you have to say. At Damian Nelson on Twitter. You can comment right here on YouTube as well. And we'll have a conversation about it. So, tomorrow night, it's Reaction from Meathead and Matthew. Thursday, it's another Double D podcast with David and myself. And then Friday, we've got Feedback Friday. And also on Saturday, we've got another edition of Primetime where we will reveal the 2016 PWR Fantasy Draft scores from Extreme Rules as well. And Linda will be back this weekend on our shows, as she was doing some traveling last week, joining Julie Smith in our broadcast. So for that, folks, thank you very much. I appreciate you subscribing to the podcast for free. I appreciate you subscribing to us right here on YouTube as well. And we'll see you again in a few days for the Double D and all week long across all of our programming here from the Pro Wrestling Report. So long, everyone.